going to be a bumpy night.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Last Bunker podcast. I want to thank you guys all for joining us. It is March 16th afternoon, man. Day before St. Patrick's Day, man. Paul, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. No, everything's awesome. I mean, not everything's awesome, but things are good. Yes, tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. I do work, so I won't be celebrating.
Yeah.
I'll celebrate spiritually.
You celebrated a little bit before, though, right?
Yeah, we had some last weekend. We had a nice. We talked with people and had a good time, and it was nice. And everything is still, even though things are opening. I guess I got a email that my gym is going to be opening back up on some small capacity scale. But yeah, it just doesn't have the magic. I don't know, because I've been sitting around since last one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy if you think about it. It's been a year of this craziness. And but one thing we can say about St. Patrick's Day, it is the only day in America that there is no barriers. There's no race. Everybody is Irish on this day. And everybody gets drunk and has a good time.
Yeah.
And good thing there's not more of these, because we wouldn't be a productive nation at all. But anyway, yes, it was growing up. Obviously, it was very big part of my life.
Yeah.
And even living in Chicago was a fascinating time, and even working in the trades as a carpenter.
Do they dye the river green, right?
They do, but that's not. The South Side Irish Parade is a little bit more different.
Okay.
But it's a little bit more original, or not original, but it's a little bit more. It's just a different situation. More serious Irish go down there. But it's interesting because having been in the trades and as a carpenter, the trades are really separated. We're back in the 80s and 90s, and even when I was a salesman.
Yeah.
So the Mexicans own the roofs.
Okay.
They own every exterior, probably not obviously exclusively, but most of my big contractors were from Mexico, and their crews were great. And then the Polish guys, they're getting it. They do the sidings, installation of windows, exterior below, and then the Irish do a lot of the framing, or and more of the house building. And a lot of my friends or my customers who became friends would take me to different places that we would go to. Like, hey, this is where you go for Lent and get the fish. At this one Irish bar it was incredible. It was just incredible. Or going down to the South Side Parade and just different avenues. But it's Chicago back then being a little bit more of a blue collar. Carl Sandburg's, city of big shoulders. And so it was a good time, and a lot of these people were great. But moving to LA, it just, I don't know, because of not being near family, or not the big city or the East, it's not as, I don't know, we don't celebrate it like we used to.
Not out here. I think it's, I don't know, maybe it's a big city spread out, everybody spread out. There's a lot of different cultures here. So it's I guess there are certain, holidays that get like a parade downtown or something like that. But St. Patrick's Day, I mean, people love it. It's one of those like Cinco de Mayo where people just come out and they're either Mexican for a day or Irish for a day, and then they get drunk, and they, the bars have their specials and their food and
my wife and I were in Zihuatanejo, Escapa Zihuatanejo on Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
And they had it because that's more of a touristy place. They had big concerts and whatever.
Yeah.
And when we came in, it was just like where I used to work with Cornerstone, was just like massive stages.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next day and it was gone. And I have never seen. I mean, I did this music thing for, festivals for like 9 years. I mean, this was like bam, bam. And there were just, unconscious drunken bodies around, but there wasn't any, and they were all the white guys. In fact, when we went down there,
Yeah.
We went on this Apple vacation thing. Have you heard of Apple Vacations?
Nuh-uh.
It was like this. I don't know if it's around, but they would run charters down there, and we stayed. This is back. I can't remember 80s, probably early 90s,
Yeah.
late 80s, early 90s. Like for $490, we had round trip airfare.
Mhm.
We had 5 or 6 nights. I mean, and right in the ocean
all in the package that like that 400 or something. Wow,
yeah,
that's good.
it was just incredible. But I was just amazed at how it. So on the plane, there were these 2 guys, and they were handing out free drinks, and these guys were drinking like, I mean, this is like from O'Hare at 7:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, and they're guzzling. So anyway, we saw them like passed out on the lounges.
Yeah.
By the pool. And the next day, the next morning, they had like a little meeting where they said, "Oh, this is where you can go, whatever." These dudes were as red. I'm not kidding you. I like fire engine red, sunburned.
Yeah.
Just half their bodies from being like the inside to their arm. I mean, like I think they had to walk with their arms out because I've never seen anybody so red.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have laid in the sun for, I don't know, 5-6 hours.
That's painful. That's super painful.
And let's put it this way: there was no color in their skin at all. These were, albino guys, and they were just like. So every time they walked by, you could almost hear everyone laughing in their head. You know, I mean, there was this little vibe where people, or their smiles were just being crushed. But anyway, have you ever gone to anywhere down south in Mexico at all?
Not recently. Last time was maybe when I was like 17, and then before that I was too young to remember going further down south. But no, I haven't really spent a lot of time down there. Really, not at all.
Well, because I want to go do the Denali on my 60th birthday, but I contacted this lady, and all these people's permits are just being forwarded, and there's only so much concession space on the mountain.
Yeah.
So there was other consideration of maybe going down and hitting all the Mexican volcanoes again, like the old days, and then end up over in Puerto Escondido and do some surfing and hang out over there for. And my wife could come down there, but I got to tell you, that is a pretty killer place.
Down south or where?
No, exactly? Down in Oaxaca and the Porto there. When we were there, things have changed a lot in life since the late 80s.
Yeah.
This is a surfer haven. Yeah. I mean, there were surfers from all over the world. I wonder
what it's like now. Have you heard anything about what it's like now? Is the cartel kind of...
No, but the places... No, I don't know. I mean, this is a sport place.
Yeah.
But there... dude, who knows in Mexico what's what? But the truth is, we would go down there, my wife and I, and even my daughter went one time with us. We would stay, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever.
Yeah.
And it cost nothing.
Wow.
I think it was like $300 a month or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is a bungalow, but right across the street is the beach. It had two beds, and a beautiful pool. Had a kitchen on the porch. And we had a lot of friends who came down, not when we would go, but at different times. And it got to be really a hip place. Yeah. And when it was really, I mean, the waves were so big, they would keep you up. It's called the Mexican Pipeline, when it went up huge, people from Hawaii came over. Yeah.
I wonder if they still have competitions down there.
Oh, yes, they still do. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And there was a big it's one of the top 10 breaks in the world. Yeah. And now I'm not a surfer. That wasn't I did do the longboard way at the end, but even at the end
that's above your
7 to 9. Oh,
your level. Yeah.
Even then it was 7 to 9. And one year I fell, and man, I got the surfboard jammed and broke the 2 ribs.
Oh.
And so, no, I'm not that. And sometimes it would be so huge.
Yeah.
In front of our bungalow and on the pipeline stretch, they would have ambulances parked.
Just in case. Huh?
and there were broken boards all the time. It was the life I enjoyed. I got up in the morning, I'd go for a run, I'd work out, I'd hang out at the coffee shop where all the surfers were hanging out, we're talking about the breaks. take my wife and daughter to breakfast, go to the beach to noon, take a nap,
Yeah.
go surf all afternoon, come home. We'd all go up to the square, eat, have party, have a good time. And then
Yeah.
every night before I went to bed, I stood in the pool up to my neck, had a beer, and laid down. And it was just, there was no internet.
Uh-huh.
Even my daughter, there's nobody who speaks English. So she had to play. She played with the housekeeper and the maids,
Yeah.
kids, and they're all running around. It was just, and there was some pretty wild times down there too.
Yeah.
One time we were down there, my wife and daughter flew home,
Mm-hmm.
and my friend Peter from South Africa came in, and he was ex-military from South Africa. We traveled all the way, so he traveled all the way down to El Salvador and back with me.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, he started drinking with the army one night. They came
So with the
in,
Mexican army?
Yeah, and they came into the place. There was a bar kind of like by the,
Uh-huh.
and he started doing shots, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to do shots?" I said, "No, not really. I'm going to go hide." But anyway, I highly recommend that. So anyway, thinking about ending up there, my wife is totally into it.
Yeah.
And the truth is that trip down there compared to going to Denali is going to be a 20 grand.
I mean, it's worth it, no?
Well, if it's not even the money, it's the concessions.
Okay.
I don't want to be, I was looking to work because I went to this guy's school who now runs it from Rainier. I was hoping to just do more of a private climb.
Okay.
I don't want to be, on a big, I don't want to mule trained up with people I don't know. I mean, this is, I'm not going to do this too much longer anyway. So, but anyway, the South seems kind of fun, so it would be Popo. Well, Popo, if it's still smoking, no, but Ixta, and then Pico de Orizaba and Veracruz, and then fly over to Puerto Escondido and surf.
That sounds, I mean, I'm not much of an ocean guy. I've never really been. I don't know. It just freaks me out. I don't know. I can't.
Well, you know what? That's because you're smart, and make no mistake. One time I was swimming in Florida, and right by Cocoa Beach. In fact, it was in Cocoa Beach. I was with my wife and daughter. It was after a music festival that had been in Orlando. So I'm swimming in the ocean, and I see this commotion. I stand up, and people are running, and I'm like, and I look, and there's a shark. It's like, I don't know how big, maybe 5 feet, whatever. So I run on the beach, and I'm yelling at the lifeguard, and he goes, I said, there's a shark. And he laughs. And I said, man, it was so funny. He said, dude, if you knew how many sharks were out there, man, you wouldn't get in the water. So, but hey, you know what? Truth is, down in Mexico, I mean, they caught a lot of sharks because we would eat the fish all the time, but I
never came across it.
I guess I remember a couple times, but it was way off. Not in the beaches that we were at or whatever. So, but hey, I'm sure they're everywhere. I saw Jaws. Yeah. You saw Jaws. That's
pretty much what put the fear of the ocean in me is Jaws.
My mom was reading that book one time when we were on vacation in Miami Beach. And she was like, you're in too deep. And we're like at our ankles. But I heard that shark attacks normally are in more shallower water than what you would think.
Do they do like what killer whales do, and then they just scoop up and try to get on the sand shore and then go back in, drag you in?
How would I know that? I mean, my friend's not shark, so I can't say. But if I did have a friend that was a shark and he said, "Hey man, you want to go? You want to go for a swim?
Yeah,
let's go out more. That way they won't find your ankles because I can't eat those. They hurt my teeth."
So you're talking about going to Palm Springs pretty soon, no?
No, maybe for Moses' birthday, June 26th. He wants to do it. And then we're going to do a hike. But no, it's been nice to get up in the mountains. We hiked the other day, and he brought a drone, but the batteries were dead. But what was funny was that I don't like to hike on the weekends because there's massive people. Yeah. And I like hiking by myself normally because I really enjoy just being in my head and just moving. I find it very relaxing. Yeah. So I saw this one guy, he's from India, And I said, I remember you. How are you doing? He goes, how do you recognize me? I said, well, I used to pass you every day at 5 a.m. So we're talking. So
Yeah.
his friends came up from India, and there must have been about, I don't know, 20 or 30 people.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, and we were at Orchard Camp, which is about halfway up.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't feeling the best, member, because of whatever. And so, lack of sleep. So, he sets it up like, and everybody's kind of watching. And a couple of these guys had been to where I'd been at Everest Base Camp. And so we were having, we were laughing. We were having a good time. This guy, the old guy, he was 79.
Hey, wow. Okay.
So he went to Aconcagua, which is the highest mountain in this hemisphere.
Yeah.
Which is down on the border of Chile and Argentina, at 69.
Wow.
And so anyway, it just was inspiring. It's always inspiring. He was funny. And I said, how did you get up the mountain? He says, I just drank the whole time.
Numb the pain.
Yeah. So we're all ready for the big thing to go up, and it never went up. And I was really excited because I thought, man, the pictures would be killer. So I guess it was one of the chargers on the controller, not the actual piece. But anyway, me and Moses saw someone with a one on Baldy one time last summer, and my nephew stopped by the other day. He's on a big trip right now. He's going around the country with his girlfriend in an RV.
Okay.
70 stops promoting this self-help thing he works on, and called Battle of the Gains. And so this late girl, money, kind of wealthier people, and so the drone that he had was $1,200.
Okay.
So I sent the pictures to Moses. I said, hey, and I thought, my nephew's 24. He's telling me how great it is. I don't know what it is. So but he said, Moses said, you have to have a license for this one because it goes up 1,000 feet.
Yeah, it's the ones that you have to register because it could hit like a helicopter and all this other stuff.
I think this one was, I don't know, $1,200 or $1,500.
Yeah,
but it looks so small and light. Have you seen these things?
I've seen a few.
Have you flown them?
No. I know a couple people that I know a couple of people that have them. And there's some of them, the more like technical, the more sophisticated ones. Yeah, you would have to like register them because they're, they go. People do a lot of crazy stuff.
It's amazing the technology. I mean, I'm back with the balsa wood and rubber band. 2 tin cans and a rope, and that's our cell phones. But
talking about mountains, have you seen? I saw an article where they're some of these mountains, maybe on Everest or whatever, because the temperature's warming up, whatever, and so a lot of the ice is melting, and then a lot of the bodies are being discovered because perfectly preserved and everything like that. In the ice, they're finding quite a few of them.
Well, I mean, even with the Everest Base Camp, it moves every year. Because of the glacial flow, and if we're having any type of global warming here, of course it's going to extend. But I mean, people die there. I mean, a lot of people have died, even going back to the famous Mallory. Going up, supposedly many people believe he was the first one on the summit, died on the descent. Most of these people die in a descent. You're tired, you're giving up. I mean, when you're pushing for the top, you got a goal. But when you're coming down, even I have snagged my crampons on each other in Colorado and fallen. Not severely, but just on my face type of situation.
There was a documentary, I think, I don't know if we talked about it. It's about a crew, like climbing crew. They went up, some of them for different countries, all getting together, going up the mountain. It might have been Everest. And then, and it was kind of like this documentary, home footage, video camera footage mixed with live reenactments. So it was pretty good, man. And how a lot of them didn't make it. They either died on the way up or they died on the way down. So it was pretty crazy.
John Krakauer wrote a book about Everest when he was on the climb, and a lot of people died, and some of the most famous guides, died on that mountain. And one guy from New Zealand and a guy from Washington. And when you see the bottleneck, there's an area called the Hillary Step where you got to be hooked on the rope and you have to jumar up. I mean, but now because of the concessions of money, and you looked at the picture last year, and don't forget, remember, was it a year ago or 2 years ago that all those people were killed at the base camp because of the avalanche? And so you're right, because of the shifting snow, one of those guys, Sims, they found his body. So yeah, you do walk along the bodies, and hundreds of people have died there.
Yeah. So they're finding quite a few of them. What's your favorite climbing movie? Documentary or live action movie?
Well, I mean, I don't have one for mountaineering, though I do like Meru. My favorite would still be Valley Uprising, even though it only deals with the rock climbing of Yosemite. Yeah. The manipulation of the photography, the music, and just the way it kept moving. And I guess now, having stood there and looked up and hung out in Camp 4, though there was nobody there because of the pandemic, that seems to hit me more. I guess mountaineering would be more books. I guess it's none of the. I have a hard time watching. Like, they did a movie, and I can't think of the name of it, but Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. It was it was redoing the story from Krakauer, but something about seeing people. I guess I like more documentaries when it comes to the outdoors.
Yeah. But like climbing movies. Well, I'm
going to go with Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I know. Okay. That was they were where they filmed it in Italy. It was badass. It looked cool. And so,
what was the one with Chris O'Donnell? Was that Vertical Limit?
Yeah, I didn't like that.
You don't like that one? No. What else? That one? Alive? Is that Alive with the
Alive was with the soccer team.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't
the plane crash?
Ethan
right?
Hawke was in it. Yeah.
Was it the plane crash?
Ethan Hawke in that?
I think he was on it. Yeah,
I think he was. Yeah, no, it's from a book from a South American soccer team that crashed in the Andes, and I read the book when it came out. In fact, it was a huge bestseller. Yeah.
Let me see, mountain movies. Let me look that up real quick. Climbing movies.
My brain doesn't work at the time we do this because I work nights, and therefore I'm in this weird twilight of
well, we both saw Free Solo.
Okay, that documentary.
You ever see 127 Hours?
127 Hours, isn't that with the dude who cut his arm off?
Yeah.
What's his name? What's that actor's name again? He kind of fizzled out lately after his assault claims
after his scandals.
School.
James Franco.
James Franco, the guy who actually probably that was the start of the end of the Oscars when they had him and Anne Hathaway host. That's when it just seemed to go. That's when we got to at least have 10 movies because the host can't handle it.
Yeah, that's right. I remember when they hosted. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did like that movie, but then again, I read back in those days. I was, I got Climbing Magazine, I got Outside Magazine. I mean, we watched the documentaries, but we were getting the documentaries from Hollywood Rental, or what was it called?
Blockbuster?
No, there was another one. Hollywood something.
Oh, Hollywood Video.
Yeah. So we would get that, but most of it might, so you're talking about late 80s, 90s. The internet is not like today, and therefore a lot of the reading and stuff.
Okay, you know what? That documentary I saw is called The Summit. It came out in 2012, and it was 48 hours later. Yeah, it was a team of like a crew, 22 climbers, and 11 died on the trip. And it's
there was a big back in the 70s on K2. Yeah, there was a massive death. Some of the greatest guides, a couple great Polish climbers died on that mountain. Yeah, Everest has a lot, but in America, big avalanche was set off on Mount Baldy because people shouldn't be up there
Mm-hmm.
because the snow, it doesn't set
How
instantly. It takes
how about some
24
of the-
hours for those crystals.
how about some of
6
these other
people I thought were
movies?
rescued or something like that.
You've seen Free Solo. We both saw Free Solo. Have you seen? I didn't even know Clint Eastwood did one of these. Iger
Oh yeah,
Sanction?
the Iger Sanction.
Yeah, yeah. How was that?
Oh
Have you seen
yeah,
that?
spy movie. Yeah, I
Okay.
saw it back then.
Yeah.
That was huge. Iger is
Then
a pretty fascinating. Truth is, I would like to climb the Iger
Iger. Where's that
It's
at? Where's
just-
it located?
in the Alps,
In the
Switzerland.
Alps. Okay.
And it's been a lot of people have died on it. It's just now with more better equipment, it's not as quiet. But there's a door
Mhm,
that goes to the railway,
mhm.
and people have died just trying to get back to that door before. So yeah,
How about 7 years?
I think
7
George
years-
Kennedy's in that movie too.
Let me look at it. Yeah, it came out in 75. Yeah.
Yep.
And
And they have some great climbing footage in there too. I mean, it's not them climbing, but they got some cool stuff in it for the
How about-
time.
Is 7 years in Tibet? With Brad
That's
Pitt?
with Brad Pitt. That's about a guy who escaped the prison and had to go over the Himalayas. And it is what it is. Who's great in that movie
Yeah.
is the co-star, the British actor. We've seen him in Harry Potter.
Let me see.
Look it up and bring up his name because he deserved recognition. He was
Oh, David Thewlis. David
Yes.
Thewlis. Yes, I like that guy.
I don't
And
want to
he
say
was
his
on a-
name because I'll
Yeah,
slaughter it.
his
But the
last name
guy,
is horrible. Yeah,
but
but
hey,
he was on a
he-
roll in the
oh,
late 90s, early 2000s. He was on
great
great villain.
British trained, phenomenal actor.
He's
Excellent.
recently made recently made like somewhat of a comeback, with the where because he was in movies that like big blockbuster movies where he was like a main focus. Now he's
Mhm.
popping up more and more in these like smaller roles as an
Mhm.
older man, but he's still doing the thing. He still looks good and he still has that same kind of wit and when he plays a bad guy, he still has that kind of, that evil, snarky kind of menacing type of thing.
Oh yeah, talking kind of undertone.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
yeah. I've always liked him. He's a great actor.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. So, that's cool. I mean, I've seen some of those. But yeah, pretty good documentaries right there.
No, I mean we did it like everything, just
Yeah.
kind of get into it and just go for it for a while, and it was very enjoyable and made some great memories and had some close calls. But
Mhm.
truth is, I always am safe.
Yeah.
I don't mess around in the mountains. I mean, there's a calculated thing maybe, but truth is, you go in shape, you're ready to go, you're equipped, and you know when to turn around.
Yeah. What else? What were you talking about? We were talking about, you wanted to talk about the MMA podcast that we did last week.
Yes.
You gotta
Okay.
get-
So
go.
we and not to keep beating
yeah.
it over, but
Yeah.
let me ask you a
But
question here.
we're in discovery
Okay.
period for yourself, and then we're
No, it was
we're
you
researching
sent me
and
some
watching.
great videos.
Uh-huh.
I love more of the tradition. I love the Japanese.
Yeah.
And then the revolution of Gracie, very fascinating.
Did you like
It's
some of those
still-
knockouts that
Yeah, and then those were great too.
Yeah.
And then also this last weekend, the famous boxer Marvin Hagler died.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Mhm.
And we just need to bring them up because
Of course,
the truth
yeah.
is, I rewatched the fight. It's only 3 rounds of him and Thomas Hearns,
Yeah.
and it was spectacular. It was 1985,
Hmm.
and those 3 rounds can be considered some of the greatest rounds in fight history, even over MMA, anything. I mean,
Yeah.
it was bomb time, back and forth, and he died. He was only 66 years old.
Yeah. As they said, I think it was natural causes. I think his wife came out and said.
Yeah, but then Thomas Hearns came out and said that he was having a reaction to the vaccine, and then it was squashed. But that was,
Mhm.
if you Google that story did come up.
Uh-huh.
Thomas Hearns, he had a glass jaw.
Mm.
If it wasn't for his jaw, I think he got 4 or 5 titles
Yeah.
in different weight classes. But imagine if he'd have beat Leonard and beat Hearns
Hmm.
or beat Hagler.
Yeah.
I mean, you would put them up in such a high level.
Yeah.
But anyway, so going back to the MMA, traditional. So what you're telling me is if I was to take 4 or 5 different traditional arts, study them,
Mhm.
and then if I come in, so that when I fought, even though, okay, so if I'm Shotokan,
Yeah.
you know, I'm upper body, you come at me, but so because I studied jujitsu, Japanese, still traditional, and I use those moves, I've instantly crossed into MMA. Is that what you say then?
Um, yeah.
Because I'm combining, because really, if you took the modern MMA, as you said, fighter,
You are.
it goes all the way back to tradition. It does.
Yeah.
Hundreds of years, correct?
And there are guys like that. There are guys with, you know, their jiu-jitsu level isn't the highest, but they're fantastic wrestlers,
Mhm.
and they got some really good hands, maybe not a lot of kicks, and you know, but they got some either fast hands or some power in those hands, and they can go a long way. It also implements, a lot of it's also how you utilize your strengths, and you kind of try to limit your amount of weaknesses, and
No,
you know,
no, I
because
agree.
yeah,
But so my question for you was,
you cross
if
over.
I study
Yeah, I think you would kind
Aikido,
of cross
if
over.
I studied Aikido,
Uh-huh.
and then I also took Taekwondo,
Yeah,
or
or
but I
even
stayed within the traditional system. As soon as I bring in an element from that other line of
other
martial
elements.
arts,
Uh-huh.
then it becomes MMA for me
For the
because
most
I'm
part, yeah.
just assimilating, even if it's all tradition, right?
Yeah.
As soon as I assimilate something else from someone else's training or tradition, then I have mixed it and it becomes MMA, correct?
Yeah, I
Even
mean,
if I'm using the traditional forms, it's MMA.
yeah, and in the in the definition of that, yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, like I mentioned with Lyoto Machida, who Shotokan karate, you know, very even stands in that very, you know, Shotokan karate point fighting kind of in and out kind of attacks. He was able to back up his karate stance and stand up with the jiu-jitsu and with the wrestling defense, and was able to keep guys in his lane, you know, and avoid, you know, being taken down or, you know, being shut down in any type of way. So he was still beaten on the feet, he was still beaten submitted, he was still, you know, but he went a long way and is still fighting. So I mean, yeah, I guess in a sense, yeah, if you say you do Aikido, you're coming from Aikido into MMA, but you have a you know, a jiu-jitsu base go along with it, and you want to compete with that, then yeah, you're and technically in the definition, you're a mixed martial artist.
Okay, so I agree.
Yeah,
I agree
yeah,
with you 100%.
yeah.
One last question. Is there a traditional martial art
Uh-huh.
that combines everything you would need for MMA, or is what would you think would be the best suited traditional martial art to fight?
Where I don't know. Let me see. Maybe like a judo type of, you know, because judo's got some ground attacks and locks and
Like jujitsu, then traditional Japanese jujitsu.
but you know, you got some, you know, judo's got the takedowns to go along with it. So, you know,
Well, you know, judo though came out of jujitsu
yeah,
because of the sanctions after World War II.
yeah. What would be
So,
the best? I mean, I probably like a wrestling, I think, because you could take somebody down, and if you could throw a good punch, you know, and they're worried about your takedown.
well,
You know?
that's what Bruce
Yeah,
Lee always said.
you
He
might be
always
able to.
said, if the wrestler could take a punch,
Yeah, you might be able to shut some jujitsu guys down if just based on the level of your wrestling. You know, so and wrestling's got some holds too. So you can, I would say, wrestling is probably the most, you know, and dangerous. I wouldn't say dangerous, but could be the most dominant one because of you could basically shut a lot of other people down. So I would say wrestling is probably. But if you're looking at traditional martial arts that has everything that you can bring into it, like a, I don't know, like encompasses some type of like grappling holds, takedowns, with striking elements. I'm sure there's definitely some out there. And I'm sure you could say like Aikido is one of them, but yeah, I mean, a lot of them have their limits, and so that's why, it's, if you take your foundation and you build on top of that with a jujitsu base or like a wrestling, or so, you get your hands good with some boxing and kickboxing, you make yourself more of a lethal threat in all areas. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the name of the game. But there's probably, there's a few out there, I'm sure, that have a lot of those elements of a little bit of everything,
I think, well, Shaolin Kung Fu, if you go, all the way through,
yeah,
but they say that's a 10-year commitment to really be able to, because it does encompass so many different styles of, and a lot of even like Wing Chun is really, it is holds. I mean, you are, even though you're close quarter, you are learning to lock. But it is interesting, and I was thinking about it while I was hiking, believe it or not, and I thought, you're right. As soon as I take any traditional and add, then I've mixed it. I've morphed it into the game.
Martial artist, yeah.
So that's why, and you're going to work with what? And the truth is, you are going to have to eliminate certain movements from the traditional stances and blocks and whatever, because they're not proper and close for what we're doing. It needs to be more fluid, because you're not just going boom, boom and ending it in a few seconds. You're having to actually fight.
And definitely the game changes when you're fighting another martial artist. And if their strength is in something that you're not particularly well versed in, you're at a weakness, you're at a disadvantage. So that's why the game was always kind of evolving and mixing and mixing and matching styles and seeing what gets you the most bang for your buck. And so, yeah, I mean, technically, basically, yeah, if you're a traditional martial artist and you want to take some elements of another martial art, by definition, technically, you're a mixed martial artist.
So it only took me, what, 2 weeks to figure that out.
Yeah, basically.
I crunched all the angles and numbers and all the algorithms, and I came up with you're right.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, anyway, I did watch that. I still, I would have to lean out that I would lean more toward boxing than MMA if I'm going to watch fights.
Yeah.
But you did send some videos, and the truth is, when you become removed and don't know the personality behind the fight, sometimes it seems like it's I have no connection, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
And I never liked watching. So when I would watch fights in the old days, I didn't watch the undercards.
Okay.
It would be, I would watch the main fight, or if there was two heavyweight fights. So
that's a lot of it's kind of like I don't know, it's weird, the whole family gathering barbecue boxing thing that I grew up with too, like yourself,
which is kind of like ancient Rome with the gladiators. It's kind of weird when you think about it,
because you Tyson fight or whoever, you come in, nobody paid attention to the undercards. Call me when the main event's on. I mean, it's kind of like the old model. It's different with, I mean, boxing, you could nowadays they're starting to stack a lot of the cards and promoting a lot of guys, so they'll put big names on top of the same card. So you could go like maybe 3 or 4 deep and see some good boxing, and know the names. But boxing is still on that model where it's very top heavy.
Yeah.
The guys on the bottom you don't get a lot of recognition. You don't know who they are. MMA is different. MMA, they will stack their cards as much as they can, every single one, and get you familiar with every single fighter as much as they can. And they'll have multiple ways of doing that with TV shows and stuff like that. But I think they do a really good. I think MMA does a really good job of getting you familiar with, these fighters, because more so than boxing, because they have a different model. People show up like myself, for the prelims, and they know the names, and I don't even have to be a hardcore fan like myself. You could be a semi-casual fan and you'll start to recognize a lot of the names on the undercards. So you're interested. So then they do a really good job of that compared to boxing. Boxing still has that old model of top heavy cards,
Hello. Sorry.
No, no. So yeah, so I mean that's still the same. That's still that model of top heavy cards and boxing is still there. It's still there. You're paying for one fight. That's what you're paying for.
Yeah, it was interesting because even when they started going to the pay, I remember going to. I mean, when the big fights happened, we would go to a guy's house named Phil in Chicago, and he always rented, and we would have a big party or whatever. And I remember watching the George Foreman. Was it Foreman and Holyfield when they fought? And just if he would have followed up with one of those bombs, he would have won that fight. He didn't sit down, but anyway, it was a big thing.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. And I'm sure with the personality and the media and the PR behind some of the bigger fighters in MMA, then you become attached even more. But like I said, I'm still fascinated when this whole stupid virus thing and we can get back to normal life. I want to go with you to some of these gyms. I'm very fascinated to see the training.
Yeah.
I find it, I went down and almost joined that UFC gym one time.
Uh-huh.
The one down on the end of Rosemead.
Yeah.
By the 10.
By the 10. Yeah.
But there was a different vibe when you get down over there, and there's, it's
a different vibe. It's a little bit more of a sketchy area, and
that's what I was just going to say.
Busy,
but it wasn't even
busy.
that. Yeah. It was there was a couple elements of the training I loved. They had a lot of this work capacity areas with like one had a big bridge with all this stuff you pull, push, whatever, go up, train on. It was totally killer. Yeah. And I love the concept of the gyms or whatever and all the different rings and the rooms and learning different things. But it also was quite a drive from where I live a little bit because I live more up toward Pasadena. So therefore, but anyway, it was very fascinating. I'm interested in how the training works.
We'll visit a few, especially one close to you, and we'll talk to them, and you could pick his brain. He was Savat Young, who has a fight academy, who I'm familiar with some of the guys there. You could pick his brain. I can try to schedule like a meetup where we could go in and talk to him. He fought for the UFC and kickboxing and all that stuff. Really small, compact, stocky.
I looked. I
stocky black dude. Really nice though. Like I met him one time somewhere, and then I hadn't seen him for almost a year, and then he remembered me. You know what I mean? A lot of times, like I go to all of these fights, and people are just, jerks. You know what I mean? They're self-centered, so they you can meet them 3 or 4 times, and they act like they met you for the first time every single time. And that's how some people are. Sabat Young is not like that. If he met you once, he'll recognize you and say hi to you and talk to you and hang out. I don't know. I like that about him. That's what a good guy.
And I'm interested. But other than that, so with that, I watched a lot of the same stuff this week that I normally do. I watched, a little bit of Rowan Martin's. I finished the first season of that. I watched, like I was talking about, the fight, which was called The War between Hagler and Hearns, and some of the documentary and people talking about it that's been on lately. Yeah. Finished the Downton Abbey, which I love. The series or the show. Just first season that was on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
The guy who created that, Julian Fellows, he did a movie a while back called Gosford Park. It's kind of the same. Emma Watson, Clive Owen, Ryan Phillip, Maggie Smith, everybody's on it. And and it's kind of like that class system. You have the downstairs, upstairs. The downstairs, upstairs was a big show on PBS when I was younger, dealing with a class system in Britain.
Yeah.
I did not watch the Meghan Markle interview.
Me neither.
I tried to record it. I couldn't get it. I hope the best for Harry and Meghan and Oprah, whatever.
Yeah.
And anyway, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just.
For me, I'm like, I haven't really paid too much attention to it. I'm just like, did she not know what she was getting into? Did she not know how they might be in terms of tradition? But the obviously the racism and all that is, you can understand it. Being there and their world,
Have you been there?
No, but I can get, especially some of the older people, I'm sure. But I feel for them. I think I don't know if doing the media rounds is good for your mentality, your mental health. You know what I mean? I mean, hopefully they do this interview, and for them, they can either try to build mend fences with the you know, the crown and all that. But if not, you know, do what they want to do with the world and for their family, and hopefully they could do it, because I think if they keep on going on with this media rounds and doing interview after interview after interview, I don't know. I think it's going to be taxing on their relationship and who they, you know, their happiness. I don't know. That's from what I can see.
Well, I mean, good thing they have a $14.5 million mansion to go get
Yeah.
to go
They're miserable, I'm
sequester
sure.
and get you know. So hey, you know what? I don't know about the
Yeah,
situation. You know, I don't read up on the royalty. You
Yeah.
know, I don't. I did watch The Crown and I liked it. I don't know if it has any significance.
Yeah.
But hey, man, let's be real. You get into that game. That I couldn't last there.
No.
Can you imagine me? I mean, yeah, this is Sir Kales. I mean, like, what is he, the lawman? I mean, hey, Sir Kales, get that garbage.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I couldn't hang in that situation. It's too much.
Yeah, and
I bet pressure.
I bet for her, yes, her being, obviously there's not that many people of color in the family. I'm sure she got a lot more scrutiny. But that aside, what they expect from you and what that
well, what worried me more about, I don't care about anybody's race, but she was on a TV show. On what, USA, right?
Yeah, Suits. I actually like that show.
Hey, you know, okay, we can't talk anymore.
Yeah, no,
but anyway, no,
it's
just
Suits?
You know what?
She's not a big name on the Suit. She's a side character, but
I know. I'm just kidding.
Hey, you know
show.
What? It's a good show.
I don't know her. I hope the best.
Yeah.
For her. And Harry seems like a madman, because I remember pictures of him doing some crazy stuff when he was young. He's a madman.
He's a wild kid, man. Yeah.
I relate. I like Harry.
Yeah.
You know, he's a maniac. But anyway, truth is,
I haven't looked into it. I haven't really looked into it though, but yeah.
There is, I guess I've become too old and cynical, but there's a reason for timing. There's a reason for everything. I don't know what it is, but nobody on that level, from Oprah to anybody, is doing something unless it's not totally calculated by a staff and whatever. So there was a calculation. That's what it is. Everything in the media is like that. It's all about a potential money deal, whatever. When you get to that level, there's no haphazard.
Yeah.
So they did the interview for whatever. If they get what they get, I hope the best. I don't know any of the situations.
It's weird how this media and how it mixed with our media cycle, and how it, I mean, they always do with the Brits and the royals, but how it's funny how the political parties almost picked a side in this whole thing. You know, you have like more the Republican base kind of are with the crown and talking trash about Meghan Markle and all them, and you have more of obviously the Democrats and the left wing parties and all that, like siding with Meghan Markle and Harry.
Well, so it's funny how like
they all made comments. Some people on both sides, like, it has nothing to do with you. What do you guys?
Well, I will tell you that when was it on TV or what?
Oh, I did sometime last week.
Last week, okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how many conversations I've been in about it since then?
How many? I don't know.
This one. I mean, I don't know. My conversations with people are not. I really not about news. Yeah. It's not news items. It's more, hey, what's going on? What are we gonna eat? We're going hiking. We're gonna do this. Hey, did you see that movie? Where are you going? Or normally it's just, Paul, can you come over and fix something? No, it's not. But anyway, that being said, no. So it was on the media.
It was everywhere for a while.
Discussion for everywhere. There was questions about Harry's socks, though.
I didn't see the socks.
No, there was somebody said something about it, but I didn't see him either. But anyway,
what else?
It was what it was. But everything is a calculation. I don't know what it is. Maybe someday we'll know.
Yeah.
Truth is, I don't know about. I'm sure there's snotty people in that.
Of course.
I watch those TV shows. I mean, it's like
and of course
that. But anyway,
you obviously have to do what they tell you. And if you're 17th in line for the crown, then You have to know your place, and then you can't talk to the media. You can't do.
Man, if I'm 17, I don't care. There's no hope unless I get a gun, because otherwise than that, I'm out. I'm out. I can't be there.
If I'm in that world, and then they tell me what to do, when they eat, when to sleep, but I'm sleeping in silk sheets and going to bed with my yeah, I'm perfectly
As long as I'm not being dressed. Okay. I haven't taken a shower without the room steamed up so I don't look in the mirror. I don't want anyone looking at me. Hey, anyway, that being said,
what else have you been watching?
Well, just Comedy Store doc. I put it on every once in a while. I did watch Tombstone, but we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk Kurt Russell. And then I watched Emma, with the actress Anna Taylor-Joy that we love, and it's that British austere type of TV show, and I was actually tortured to death almost. My wife and I on Friday nights we make a pick.
Yeah.
And so I watched it with her because I promised. We rented it even. From wherever it was on, because we don't have that streaming service.
Okay.
And I like her, but I honestly got to tell you, I ain't hanging with these are like the Crown people. You know what I mean? I just can't. I couldn't get into it, and it just wasn't for me. So
it's not.
My wife loved it. She loves. I mean, my wife teaches literature. This is what she's about, and it was really, and she knew the story because it's a remake from a book. And then Clemens Paltrow did it, and then it was this, and then the last thing I watched was Coming to America 2.
Okay,
which is the sequel to the original movie.
Yeah,
and
was that 88, right? 88
no,
it came out.
Was it 88? I thought it was 98.
The original? No, it's pretty. Wait, let me see.
No, I think I'm right here.
The original? I'm thinking like. Oh yeah, no, 88.
Okay, you're right. I wrote down the wrong thing. You are totally correct.
I'm thinking like how young he was. I'm like in my head. I'm like, no, okay, that has to be like 88.
Okay.
I like how they had the old guys from Trading Places in there too. Huh?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So here's the deal. The first one was directed by John Landis, who did Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and had worked with Eddie Murphy. Yeah. And did Animal House and the Blues Brothers, and it was more that the original was almost like, oh my gosh, it's going to get out of hand. Yeah, it was almost just pushing it, and it was a quirky, and it was the Eddie Murphy that we, it wasn't my favorite movie of his. I mean, Beverly Hills Cop and The Golden Child is my favorite movie of his personally. Something about it, I rung with me. So when I saw the second one, it just was like this old, like Eddie Murphy, and there was some, the nostalgia wasn't enough to carry the film for me. Yeah. Now, Leslie Jones, who plays his One Night Stand, she is phenomenal. Really, she's the best. She steals everything. And of course, when James Earl Jones talks, we listen because he is who he is. He's the icon.
How did he look in this movie?
He's just at the beginning. Okay, I'm not going to go on in case you haven't seen it because it is a popular movie.
Did he look? Did he look well though? I know he's older now, obviously. But
guy looks like Morgan Freeman looks the same for 100 years.
Okay.
They don't change. Denzel Washington still could probably play a 30-year-old guy if he wants. You know what I mean? It's just he looks good, but his voice and it's everything. And he has a very little part. And there's, Morgan Freeman has a little, we have Wesley Snipes, Louis Anderson, and the original Arsenio Hall. But the truth is, it just seemed like everything. It's like it's like Justice League and different. It's like I'm familiar with the story. You didn't show me anything different.
Did it
And
just
so
it missed the mark? It
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 seemed
didn't take chances, maybe.
there was no risks involved.
Yeah,
And I think that's what we always love about Eddie Murphy is that twinkle in his eye.
edgy. Yeah,
Like when we watched, I mean, I was watching Saturday Night Live every week when he was on there, and there was always, you knew that something was circling back there. You wanted to hear because it couldn't be on TV, but well, you saw his stand up. It's phenomenal. It's not
phenomenal.
this. And it was like he was in a coma. He was in a humor coma. And
he's been out of the game for a long time, though. He's been
but
old.
if you're going to come back,
if
you're going to, but look at, he did Dolomite last year or 2 years ago, and that was incredible. I mean, that was like Oscar. He got nominated for things. I mean, this was it. So they played it safe, and it could have been incredible. You have some of the great talent.
Yeah.
And even the guy who wrote it, the Kenya Barris from Blackish, he worked with Anthony Anderson. I mean, this is really, it could have been great. And I think even like with the Emma, for the first time, I'm running into things that it's like they're missing the mark a little bit. I don't know if there's too many people, if they're being too careful. It has its moments, but I mean, if I went out and spent the money, I wouldn't come back and say, hey, I'm not going to watch it again. And to me, like we always talk about our favorite film.
Yeah.
And when we go back to things all the time, there's a reason. It's not just because we're emotionally connected. It's because we like it and it's good.
Yeah.
So that was what I watched. And then, what about you? I know we're going to talk about Kurt Russell. So I did watch Tombstone of his, which we'll discuss now. So
I haven't. Let's see. In terms of films, I haven't really watched a lot. I've been kind of past couple of days over the weekend, somewhat busy. Some of the best things I saw were just mini kind of documentaries on films that I like that I've seen that I watched on YouTube. So there was almost an hour long video. I think I might have sent it to you of Guy Ritchie talking about Snatch, and then rewatching it like 20 years later or so, and then talking about it, and then talking about the process, and then showing old footage of on-set interactions and stuff. I thought that was great. So I watched that. I watched, there's a new Mortal Kombat movie coming out. There's a lot of like little documentaries and things coming out with the original cast from the original movie. And so it's fun. I've been watching a lot of that. There's like a lot of interviews or a lot of, these like mini segments of like kind of interviewish things where they go back and they talk about how the process was and how a lot of the chemistry that they had in that film, because it kind of became a cult classic for people like around my age. And a lot of those guys are still good friends and still keep in contact to this day. And they talk about what the new movie might be and what it might be like and how it might be good and it might look good. And this is how I felt about the new movie. It might look good, but that original had so much charm, and you could tell with the connection, the chemistry with those original cast members. It's undeniable. So I don't know if the new film will have that. I'll check it out. I think it's on HBO Max. It's going to come out, but so I've been watching a lot of that, a lot of inside documentary kind of stuff on movies that I like. And then I checked out an animated film that your daughter might be interested in. It was a Batman animated film, and it's called Gotham. No, it's called Batman Gotham by Gaslight, and it's a kind of an alternate reality Victorian age version of Batman, and the main villain is Jack the Ripper. So it's Batman. Yeah, it's Batman without all the tech. He's got like this kind of cloth kind of suit, and he's is
it dated then back with Jack the Ripper then?
Yeah. Okay. So you're in that time period. You have like these versions.
That's kind of interesting. And that's an interesting take.
It was interesting. I liked it. And I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. So I checked it out. It's on HBO Max because they have like a DC Comics section, and then it was good, man. They have a twist in there that was pretty good. It's not PG. It's more PG-13 for sure. The fight scenes were pretty cool. The story, they have these Victorian versions of these characters, and I thought it was interesting. I liked it, man. It was really good. Probably one of the best animated movies I've seen in quite a while. So I recommend that. That's my biggest recommendation is Batman Gotham by Gaslight. Yeah, and I think your daughter. I know your daughter's a Batman fan and comic book illustration fan. So
Well, I wrote it down, so I'll send
You
it
might
to her.
like it.
She'll be home on.
I think you'll like it too if you guys watch it together. I think you guys will like it. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I don't know about that. I will definitely. I'm like, my life is going to be pretty busy through May, and
Yeah.
most of my watching, other than our Friday night, my wife and I, it's a date night where we watch something.
Yeah.
It's more sitting while I eat and turning on and back and forth and
Okay.
different things
Yeah.
like that. But you said you talked about watching Captain Ron.
Yeah, I was on a little bit of a
Kurt Russell.
Kurt
Run?
Russell binge. Yeah, like last week. So Captain Ron. What is it? What was the other one I mentioned? Big Trouble in Little China.
Excellent.
We both love The Thing.
Oh yeah.
And just a lot of Kurt Russell movies. So one of my favorites is his recent roles was somewhat recent, I guess. The one he did with Tarantino, Death Proof. Did you ever watch that one?
Which one? The
It's
Hateful Eight?
No, Death Proof. Well, he was in Hateful Eight too, but
Yeah.
it's called Death Proof.
Oh yeah, Death Proof, because there was
the two
two
Grindhouse
movies.
movies. Yeah, the two.
yeah,
Grindhouse
and it was what's the other guy? Rodriguez.
Rodriguez did one.
Yeah, I did.
Tarantino
I did.
the
I
other.
did. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That I did not think about that, but
Yeah.
It's funny. He had the same haircut as in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
didn't he? I was thinking about.
Yeah.
I love the only part I love in the second movie is the opening with him going to the fast food place with the
Yeah.
girl
Yeah.
and the music and the
That's-
car, because that's
Yeah.
my era, so it was very
Yeah.
nostalgic. But yeah, the guy's been around. I sent you the picture of him. My wife sent me of him on Gilligan's Island.
So that was him, huh?
That was him.
Yeah.
65.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up with him. I remember the Disney where he the computer and tennis shoes. He had a big Disney movie,
Uh-huh.
and I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. And
Yeah.
then followed him all the way through. I mean, obviously, Escape from New York, The Thing,
Escape from LA.
and most of these movies.
Yeah.
Probably every movie from the '80s all the way up into the night.
Even now.
Even saw Miracle
Yeah, he's still
in
doing it.
2004.
Yeah, I see that
at
one.
the
Yeah.
theater.
Uh-huh.
And Tequila Sunrise with Mel Gibson, Backdraft, Escape from New York, Big
Yeah.
Trouble in Little China. We saw it at the theater a couple times. I mean, I just love that. It's so outrageously. He plays such a dumb guy. It's just awesome. And isn't that Kate Capshaw in that, right? From Sex and the City.
What's her name? Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, from Sex and the City. What's her name?
Kate Capshaw.
Is there Kate Capshaw?
Yeah.
No, it's
Am I wrong?
It's
Forgive me.
no, it's something like that. Here, I'll get you the name right now. Oh, Kim Cattrall. Kim Cattrall. Yeah,
Oh, Kim Cattrall. Sorry.
there you go.
Forgive me, Kate, and forgive me, Kim.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I haven't watched that movie in a long time. But I do
It's
love
a
it.
wild movie, man. It's good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and his sidekick, the young guy, is the Asian guy, is incredible.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it.
Oh, another one I watched a couple of times past week or so was Blade Runner 2044, the new one.
Yeah, I tried to get into it.
It's slow. It's 2049. Yeah, it's much like
I mean,
the
it
first-
looks gorgeous.
It's like the first one. The first
Yeah.
one's very slow, very mono. This one's very similar. Same vibe.
I really like. I mean, we saw the first one at the theater when it came out, and it was just like, wow,
I love that
we've
movie.
not
It
seen
still holds
anything
up.
like that. Oh yeah, it's a great film, and I saw the director's cut by Ridley Scott, which is a little bit more, a little better, fills in some stories.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies of Kurt Russell's is Silkwood.
Mm.
Now, this is with Meryl Streep and Cher, and it's about the lady who reveals secrets at a nuclear plant. And the script is by the famous director Nora Ephron.
Okay.
And it was directed by Mike Nichols.
Okay. Cool.
And he got I think he got a Best Supporting Actor nomination for it. And You know, he did this big run of movies back in the 80s. The guy must have done 1 or 2 movies a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of faded out a little bit, but I did like Miracle,
Mm-hmm.
about the USA
US
hockey
hockey
team
team.
being
Uh-huh.
Russia. I mean, mainly because we lived it. In other words, we watched it. I mean,
Yeah.
back then the Olympics was something that was there. You watched it. Everybody got together. I mean, I remember Ben Johnson winning. I remember some of the, you know,
Yeah.
Roy Jones being knocked out or getting a bad call. I mean, I remember, but I cannot honestly tell you. I can't tell you the last time I watched an Olympics.
It's been a long time for me. I remember when the Olympics would come on, either the winter or the summer. I would watch it. It would be like, you know, it'd be entertaining. I would follow it. This was probably maybe early 2000s, you know, post high school for me, maybe, where I last really invested any time into the Olympics. Really, yeah. So it's been a
No,
while.
but like I said, in my life of growing up, it was everything.
Yeah,
I mean, we knew all the. I mean, the Olympic guys were everything.
yeah,
You know, I mean, any type of Olympic champion, whether you're an ice skater or, you know, the track, everybody, or even the. I mean, I love the weightlifting and, you know.
Were you into it
Very
when Phelps was, you know, competing? That whole hype.
No, I would have to say the last Olympics, and I don't know the year, but it might be 2004, maybe.
Yeah.
Might be the last time.
Yeah,
We
same for
loved
me.
the winter because growing up in Michigan and skiing, I mean, we were really into it, and it was
Yeah.
just
The winter was
personalities.
fun because it brought a lot of the action sports guys in. You
Yeah,
know,
totally.
for like this, you know,
Well, hey,
snowboarders.
this is way before any type of snowboarding or whatever, but
Yeah.
these people like that one, and I don't know the name of the event, but it's where it's just a slalom where they just crank the mountain and they're going over the moguls and they're flipping. It's just, anyway, it was very exciting. And then, of course, we all grew up skating and ice skating in Michigan. So, I
Okay.
mean, everybody's yard was turned into an ice rink growing
Yeah.
up.
I
So,
enjoy
it was
the
big.
Winter Olympics more. Yeah, I think they were funner to watch. The Winter Olympics. It's always pretty cool to watch them. Yeah.
Well, and it was, yeah, it is fascinating. So, but I would have to say, if I'm going to pick one movie of Kurt Russell,
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's so many. I mean, you can just go on and on. Now, it seems like a lot, like Overboard with Goldie Hawn.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the same character kind of in some of these movies,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. And that's fine because John C. Reilly does too.
Yes, yeah.
and they're great. So we just expect that is. But if
Yeah.
I'm going to pick one movie that really means something to me, it's going to be Tombstone.
Okay.
And I saw it at the theater.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I just watched it again. It's a great movie. It has so many great. It only has one flaw to me in the movie,
Uh-huh.
and I think that the Dana Delaney character is a little miscast.
Okay.
She's the actress. You know what I mean? Who comes in, and it's the love interest for Kurt Russell.
Yes. Uh-huh.
She doesn't seem to fit the part for me.
Mm-hmm.
Riding the horse just doesn't seem into it, or doesn't seem of the time. But there's, I mean, some Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, Val Kilmer,
Mm-hmm.
Paxson, and Val Kilmer came out last year and said that really it was Kurt Russell who directed this film.
He had a lot of power, a lot of say.
And so it looks great. They all look lean when they're walking up that street in the black hats, the black jackets. It's just, it looks so real.
Yeah.
And my favorite scene in the movie is where Johnny Ringo, played by Michael Biehn, goes up to Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's been drinking for days, obviously, and they start talking in Latin.
Yeah.
The sheriff comes in. We don't want any problems in any language. And then Johnny Ringo does the acrobatic gun.
Yeah.
And then Val Kilmer follows up with his drinking cup.
Yeah.
It's just great. It was, you know, you wonder if it was even improv. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
just
that's
wonder
true.
what's going on with it. But and then the famous line when he shows up for Kurt Russell and he tells Michael Biehn, "I'm your Huckleberry."
Yeah.
And the look on Johnny Michael Bean's face, he knows it's over.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's going to be my Kurt Russell film. That's my pick of the week.
It's your figure of the week. Okay.
If you haven't seen it, and if you have, it's a great go back and escapism film.
Some of my favorites of his growing up were like he did Soldier. This was 1998, I think. There's like a Universal Soldier kind of film. I liked his movies like Executive Decision, Breakdown, Backdraft.
Breakdown.
Yeah.
Breakdown will wreck any of your cross country travels. It's funny. I saw that movie in '98, and my nephew, who's leaving on this cross country trip with his girlfriend, stopped by. And I'm like, hey, lock that down, lock this up, put this over here, don't park here. It's like, did you see the movies? Don't trust any truckers.
Yeah.
They're all bad.
Backdraft was another one. Obviously, that was a big commercial thing. I mean, Universal Studios.
Backdraft was shot at the Chicago theater, the Uptown Theater, and so we were living a couple blocks away when they had the big production. That's a Ron Howard movie, correct?
Yeah.
That's Billy Baldwin, right?
Yes. Let me see the cast.
I think Robert De Niro's in it too as a arson inspector.
Yeah, William Baldwin, Donald Sutherland, Jennifer Lee, 1991. Yeah. But as far as some of my favorites to watch over and over and over again of Kurt Russell, it's hard to pick, but Stargate is one. It had his 1994 sci-fi, obviously it spawned, TV shows and spin-off movies, but the first one was just, I love the first movie. It's got Kurt Russell and James Spader. And then
it's got the actor from The Crying Game.
Yeah. So Stargate is one. I watched it just last week, actually. Death Proof is another with Tarantino. I thought his character of what's his name? Stuntman Bob Stuntman Mike. He was like a stuntman and a serial killer stuntman. Stunt car driver. So that movie is another way I love going back to. And if it's a tie between Tombstone and The Thing, which I like, but I would say probably the one I watch most is The Thing. So, those are the ones
I would have to say
it
went on a big run a while back, and so I watched it continue or parts of it as I was, eating or getting ready for work or whatever.
Yeah.
I would have to say so. Yeah, definitely Tombstone and The Thing would be those would be the most watched movies I have. It's interesting. You love all his movies from the 90s.
Yeah.
And yet, because we were probably at different ages, and so in the 80s, that was when we were going to the movies and we were watching a lot of TV during that time. So we really, he's a movie star. I saw Goldie Hawn at the Westin one time. She walked in, went to the elevator, went upstairs and left. So that was all, but I just happened to be out front.
But with him, he's a multi-generational, like multi-decade, and he even to this day is still coming out with movies that people see. And Main Street Guardians of the Galaxy is one. But I would say, the three movies that I go back to over and over and over again are probably Stargate, Death Proof, and The Thing are my, and I love Captain Ron, who we just talked about last week. And a bunch of other movies.
Is that Martin Short, right?
Yeah, him and Martin Short. Yeah.
Now, I wish that guy would, he's just, I worked on that show Weeds one time, and it was an episode where we were in a plane, and that's when I was doing background stuff, whatever. It was kind of cool, so I got paid. I went, and the production assistant going, you can't look at the actors' eyes because they're all method. You can't say anything. You can't look at them. And I forget who's the lead.
Mary.
I know Louis Parker.
Yeah, Mary Louise Parker. Yeah.
So she's like, has nothing to do with the set, joking with the crew, but everyone else is nothing. So we're sitting in there. She sits down, and Martin Short comes on the plane and pretends like he's drunk, and he throws up on an extra's lap. And it was just, everyone's laughing, and it was just so cool. I'm telling the story how many years later, because everybody went up for grabs and he laughed, and even for the catering,
Mhm.
he just was in line. He just got in line with the extras and just went through. It was just like a normal, just
Yeah.
such a. And I loved him from Saturday Night Live. And that
So
same,
now, yeah,
I would love to have seen more of him do funny stuff because I like to
yeah,
laugh at him.
yeah. He's great. No, I love Martin Short. But yeah, that him and Captain Ron and the combo of Kurt Russell and him together, I thought was it's one of my favorite movies when I was a kid.
Oh, it doesn't have the eye patch, right?
Yeah. And it moves.
It switches.
It switches, and then he. I love the scene where they think he's dead, but he's actually asleep. But he sleeps with his eyes open. Then he wakes up. He wakes up and he moves the eye patch to the other eye, and then he's like, "You have another eye. You have the eye," and he's like, "Yeah, it's a glass eye, kid."
He's kind of like this little trouble, little kind of
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
off that same foundation of goofiness. But
Yeah.
yeah, a great star. And truth is, heard nothing but wonderful. I mean, you know what? He said he doesn't live in Hollywood. He lives in Montana, I think, or South.
He's a big wine guy. You know that? He because I go to Disneyland when it was open with my wife and my son and all that, and he was doing a speaking engagement. He was doing a speaking engagement at Disneyland for their wine festival. And so they were having this big, they have like these seasonal wine festival things at Disneyland, or these food festivals.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the speakers there. It was Kurt Russell about
really
his vineyard or whatever he's got going on. So
wow, that's fascinating. But yeah, he's a good guy. He's an iconic figure.
Yeah.
And I do watch his movies every once in a while.
Yeah.
So the Oscar nominations either, really. Came up.
Huh? For his age and all that, and over the years that he's been still quick. It's like it doesn't seem like he ages, other than the gray in his beard. Like the guy's still quick, still
personality. Some of these actors look the same for years.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman was a guy who looked the same. His hair was never receded. It was the same his whole life.
Tommy Lee Jones is another one.
Yeah. Oh, Morgan Freeman.
Who was it? Donald Sutherland. How long has that guy been old? He's just
man. Donald Sutherland was in. I was watching him in movies, and he was in the movies in the late '60s, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But he's always kind of looked that older manish. Like
they're totally separate, but in my mind, sometimes Elliot Gould and Donald Sutherland get mixed up in my head for some reason. But then because of his son, Sutherland's son, then therefore
it's either separate.
It does separate. But yeah, the guy's been around forever. I just saw him in Animal House the other day.
Who?
He's the professor.
So Donald Sutherland?
Donald Sutherland, yeah. He's the professor that they smoke weed with.
Yeah. He's been in a lot of good shows too. He does a lot of good choices for TV shows.
He picks what he wants.
Yeah. One that I liked, it was short-lived, but I love the cast. It was Dirty Sexy Money. It was on ABC. It was like this family, like these they have family with money, and I don't know. It was a good show. I love the cast. It was short-lived. It only went like 2 seasons, but it was a really good show.
I remember hearing the name. I can't say. It's like, if it was hard to catch shows back then, can you imagine today?
Imagine now, yeah.
There's like so much going on.
Yeah.
And he's been around for a long time, man. He's the old hippie guy. So
still working, still doing his thing. So as he pops up every now and then, still looks the same. Hasn't really.
He's not aged.
Slowed down.
Well, when you sell your soul to Satan, you're able to last forever.
All right. Before we go, let's talk about the Oscar. Anything on there that you want to touch on?
Well, they came out and
it's not the same from the Emmys, right?
Yeah, and so I have a list here, and there's a couple things that are interesting.
Uh-huh.
Like I did see the Mank movie.
Okay. And
we had talked about it earlier. At first I wasn't necessarily impressed, but now I'm going to go make a review.
Okay.
And then what I do is I'll watch every one of these movies before the Oscars.
Yeah.
And so now I did see The Promising Young Woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Her performance is good.
Mm-hmm.
Carey Mulligan, but the film in itself, and really her boyfriend in the film is phenomenal. He's a stand-up comedian who does a lot of music.
Uh-huh.
He was incredible. But as a whole, the movie, to me, it's not Oscar movie.
Yeah.
Um,
There's not a lot out there right now, though. But to
no, and it's a weird year, obviously, because of the pandemic. And I just read an article, and I think it was in Variety, that some of the films that they expected to be in this mix were not even released. And so, but there's a couple there. I usually only see the best pictures. But I'm going to see this Ma Rainey's Black Bottom because both Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis did get it.
Yeah.
And though it didn't get nominated for Best Picture, if you go back to the Jack Nicholson movie, As Good as It Gets, that wasn't Best Picture, but that performances between her and what's the actress name? I can't think of it offhand.
Helen Hunt. Yeah.
I mean, they both got Oscars. Their performances were phenomenal. But in the movie, if you have that carry, and you should be able to follow through. So I definitely want to see that. Especially, I like Bossman, a major loss.
It's kind of like what happened with. There's a lot of that this year too, where like the movie may not be Oscar worthy, but performances are good. Like I Care a Lot. I mean, obviously the performance I thought was. I thought the performance was good. It's different about the movie, but I thought the performance was good.
Well, so I'm going to see all the movies. I'm interested in seeing The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, and then also this No Man Land because I read the book. I wanted to see how how it follows through. And the Trial of Chicago 7. Sorkin is a phenomenal screenwriter, and I'm interested to see the work. But of these, it's interesting. Last Saturday. Was the anniversary of the release of The Godfather.
Okay.
And the amount of, when I think of these movies, there's not a lot of movies that are standing out anymore in the Oscar field when it was down to 5. I think, and the truth is, I understand what we're trying to do by making it inclusive for everybody. But a true story is only coming from the heart. And I don't know if because I've watched so much TV the last year that for me to watch these films on TV, I can't separate them from everything. If that makes sense, that's probably the reason. I love going to the theater. Now, because some of these, I love sitting in the theater, no one talking or on their phone, which is a sin, and just watching it. That's how I grew up. It's hard for me to separate The Queen's Gambit, which I love, from The Godfather or from a great film. Even though each episode's encapsulated.
When you're watching at home. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense because going to the movie,
like even some of the big Marvel stuff you like.
Yeah.
That has been released, it doesn't have you. I can't get that big, massive scientific world in my living room where the dog wants to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and it's true, and that's why I think movie theaters will bounce back because people want to get out. People like to go out.
I hope so.
I mean, it is nice to get the movies directly on the TV, but it doesn't have the same feel. I think we're.
Oh, and I think it's the same feel you're going to get when you were talking about. We were talking about MMA and the audience and trying to watch even sports.
They actually got announced too because I know Texas said they were opening up, but so was Florida. But I think they're going to go ahead in a month or so and go to Florida with a crowd. So. Looks like it's going to start pretty soon. So unless that gets shut down, But.
My wife went and got her second vaccine.
How did she feel?
Fine today.
Okay, that's good.
So I found out
mixed feelings because I have a friend that they take it and they're sick for like 24, 48 hours or sick like a dog. So.
Well, I mean, that's okay to be sick for a day instead of being sick forever.
That's mostly
but then maybe those were people that would have been susceptible to the real virus then.
Oh, that's true.
If they would have got it, maybe they had a certain immunity that wasn't up for it.
Yeah.
My wife said it was fine. I found out because of my security situation and what I do. and because of being vetted through the state and
Mhm.
different things. So I'm on the top of the list. I didn't
Oh.
know that.
Okay.
So, but I would rather wait for the Johnson and Johnson because I just want to go one time. My life is too busy. I can't go sit around and
Twice,
spend
yeah.
2 days for this,
Yeah.
So I'm going to get it because I believe that you're going to have proof of it to travel for some reason. And I don't know if it's true. And if you want to go to Mexico, you're going to have it. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
With your passport. So I'm just going to get it as soon as I can. And whatever.
All
Not
right.
worried about
All
it.
right.
Are you going to get it?
Yeah, when the time comes. I'm not rushing to get out there right now and do it, but eventually I will. I'm not sure which one. I'm hopefully like you with a one-time.
Well, they're coming at the one
Yeah.
from Australia, and it's a 2-name. It's been coming out that people have been getting blood clots.
Yeah, it's I think it's AstraZeneca.
Yeah, but it's media based, who knows
And
what?
Yeah,
what
out of how many
percentage it
people,
is,
it's probably a small percentage. Yeah.
So who knows? But anyway, it's been a good week, and so this week I'm going to start knocking off these Oscar movies. You saw No Man Land,
Yeah.
so I will
Great.
see it before we talk again, and that'll be one of the movies I'll see, and I've seen You saw Promising Young Women?
I have not. No, there's a few on
Okay.
that list that I need to get to.
Well,
and
which
I
one?
hopefully at
What
least
are
one
you
or two.
gonna? So let's go. We'll definitely talk about No Man Land, and if you happen to see Coming to America 2, you'll make a comment on that.
Yeah.
No, hey, you know what? They had fun. Big deal. But
Yeah.
the truth is, it's hard to follow up Eddie Murphy from the 80s.
But like your assessment of it, I'm hearing a lot about like the same thing. They say safe and
When it's
predictable.
on and I start going to do stuff
Yeah.
and just listen to it,
Yeah.
I think I was baking cookies or something that night or drinking heavily.
Yeah.
So, or I was caused to drink heavy for it. But no, hey, it is what it is. Do you think I heard that Eddie Murphy had gotten a deal to do stand-up specials again? Did you hear this before this whole pandemic thing?
Yeah. I think there was talks about it, but I think he backed out.
Well, did he back out?
Yeah, because he had, he
It was
hasn't
a
done
pretty
it.
substantial figure, if I remember.
Yeah, he hasn't done it for a long time. I think he felt like it was just be disrespectful to himself and everybody else because he hasn't. He's
How
you've
can
been out
you
of the game
turn
for
that
that long.
off?
I think it's the
It's his
this,
personality, isn't it?
yeah, I think so.
You're
Like,
not on that level. I mean, here's a guy who was in the clubs in his teens.
yeah.
He was signed at 19.
I think it's a passion, fire, hungriness that he just doesn't have anymore. I think he's just like, why?
Well, let me ask you a question.
You know?
These guys, I know that George Carlin spent the whole year writing, and
Yeah.
his performances were by the word.
Yeah,
There's no ad lib with him.
Yeah.
Everything was performed. But some of these guys, they seem like that, like Robin Williams. I can't see this guy writing out a whole thing.
no.
He just went up there and went crazy.
And a lot of the guys that go from like stand up to movies almost rarely and find success, almost rarely ever go back to stand up. Even when they're, it has to be years later. I see a couple people years later that go back, but most of that when you're out, and because the movies and the money is just too good, and it takes a lot of
also,
commitment to being a comedian.
Other than seeing the training at the different MMA clubs, I want to go once this comedy thing opens. I haven't never been to the Comedy Store other than for an interview, so I would love to go to these places and see some shows.
Yeah. All right, man. All right, it's been a good one. Good show. Want to thank everybody for watching, listening. Like, share, subscribe, and then we'll catch you guys all next week.
Yes, when my brain works better, when I don't stay up all night.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Anyway.
Take care.